Well, I think that there's two things. I think there's a need for entrepreneurialism, but there also needs to be for intrapreneurialism, right? So the same approach, but from two different approaches. I think for at least our platform, all the entrepreneurs we're going to need as we scale up our programs around the world in different markets, we're going to need partners for our platform that want to actually take these ingredients and turn them into products, or run the operations, or do some material science based upon that, or help on valorization, or develop new technologies, new machine vision systems and the like. So there's going to be a whole cadre of needs around this as we get further and further down the line with that. So that's just going to be more and more opportunities. And then also the same thing, a lot of folks from other categories, just like James did from Apeel, he's working on a different thing and flipped into it, right? So it's going to create this kind of pull to bring folks from other categories. And I brought the concept of intrapreneurialism as well. I think that's one of the things that's really going to be driving this change now is besides, the smaller folks kind of figuring this stuff out and then inspires all the larger companies. But now we're starting to see larger companies kind of finally like going, we got to do something about it, and doing programs inside of it. So encouraging, if any folks work at large food companies and the like, or large processing companies or manufacturers, is encourage the development of some kind of in-house entrepreneurialism to do something about it and turn it into it. So anyhow, that's what I would say.
Yeah, I think there's three main areas that come to mind at different stages in the supply chain. So I think if you go all the way back to the farm level, for some types, and I'm thinking about fruits and vegetables because that's what I know the most about, but a lot of fruits and vegetables are packed in a packing house. So they're aggregated in the field, they're brought to a packing house where they're cleaned, sorted, and packed. And in those situations, I think there's a lot of companies that are starting to recognize, okay, there's off-spec produce that's found there, or otherwise just not as valuable for a mainstream market, but it's already aggregated. So you can use this, you can upcycle it, you can find other outlets, you can freeze the berries instead. But there's a lot of produce that is picked right in the field. So it's a much more manual process, and a lot of the picking just goes right into the clamshell or the bag, just straight off the farm. And so if there's something that's off spec in that situation, or for whatever other reason there might not be a demand for it, it just gets left in the field. And so a lot more food waste at that stage in the supply chain happens in that scenario. And I think that that's a space that has a lot less attention, that I think there's a lot of opportunity to figure out what do we do, all of the same agricultural inputs, fertilizer, irrigation, energy has been used to grow that produce as the stuff in the packing house, but we don't really have good solutions for that yet. I think when we look at maybe the retail stage, one way that we've solved for food waste at this point is with plastic packaging. And while maybe we have been able to reduce food waste in some instances, the environmental burdens of those single-use plastics are also very high. And so there's a large trade-off. And maybe, sometimes like one is 10% better than the other, but kind of like what Tim said, it's like an incremental improvement. It's not really a large enough change to say we're really making the right positive impact. And so I think getting really creative with marketing, because sometimes the packaging is for advertising, or how do we start to think about aggregating multiple pieces of produce together without so much plastic, or maybe we can distribute it differently. I think that that's an area, a lot of those products are meant to help solve the food waste problem, but maybe aren't always the best solution.
You recently made an announcement about the cucumbers, right?
Yeah, so Apeel in some instances, and with the long English cucumbers, they're always shrink wrapped. We've announced that we're launching a product this year to replace that shrink wrap with the Apeel product. So in some instances, our product can be that solution, but if the point of the plastic is to tell a story, or if it's to group 5 apples together, that's a solution that our product can't provide. So there needs to be so much more innovation to really tackle this problem. And then the last, I think, is at the consumer stage. We know that a majority of food waste happens in our homes, especially in places like the US where there's robust cold chain infrastructure. However, we have such little insight into how much, why it's occurring, which types of food, and you start to see more behavioral economists paying attention to this because it's more than just a technology problem. And so I think that's a space that I'm really excited about. And maybe it's a crowdsourcing related technology where people are sharing data, or I'm not sure, but I think that that's a place that we'll see, and I hope we'll see a lot more innovation.